Now, I get it. I totally get it. Bulls fans are tired of the losing. They're tired of the mediocrity. They're tired of the irrelevance. They're tired of the excuses and the stupidity and all of that. I'm right there with you. Like, it's been a long, long time since you could really point to the Bulls and truly view them as a championship contender. Like, now, some of you, like foolishly believe that Thibodeau coach team in that beginning of the 2010s was a true championship contender. They weren't. Like, they were, at best a second round of the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals, and lose in 5 or 6 games type of team, and that's exactly what they were. It's been over 2 decades since there's been a real championship contender playing in the United Center. And, it's so frustrating because you got sold this bill of goods all this long time ago that Jerry Krause had this master plan because, after all, organizations win championships. God, like that wasn't going to bite him in the ass. Karma coming to collect. And we're still waiting. Like in such a hurry to move on to the next phase because the grass is greener on the other side. And you found out that grass is brown as hell, burnt to a crisp. So now that the Bears have some new front office leadership, or not the Bears, the Bulls. Imagine the Bears, don't even get me started with that. The Bulls have some new front office leadership. I've got the 4th overall pick in this draft. Maybe Bulls fans are starting to think some things and think about the potential, the possibility. Billy Donovan was hired to be the next head coach. Like, the needle's pointing upwards a little bit. And I might not disagree that the needle is pointing upwards a little bit, but we also need to be really realistic about where this Bulls team is. They are not a championship contender, obviously. They are not close to being a championship contender. That also should be pretty obvious. It would probably take a couple of years of real work and real remaking of this roster in order for them to get to that point. That also should be obvious. That young core to build a championship team around is not there in Chicago. It just is not. Like, imagine thinking that you could build a championship team around Zach LaVine being your number 1 option or even your number 2 option. Like, that's clown school shit right there. So that's going to lead to Bulls fans wanting, not only for this team to get a big star with that 4th overall pick, and reasonably so, but this is going to have Bulls fans wanting this team to be aggressive in free agency and or the trade market and say, hey, you could trade for some guys and bring some guys in and build a championship contender that way, and that certainly is true. But one name that the Chicago Bulls should be 100% staying the hell away from, and if any Bulls fan dare step out in public via social media, YouTube videos, or any other type of forum or way to express that they want Russell Westbrook to be a Chicago Bull and they want this organization to trade for Russell Westbrook, they should be publicly and forever shamed and humiliated for their sheer stupidity. The Chicago Bulls should take one look at Russell Westbrook potentially being available in the trade market, Russell Westbrook wanting a trade, and saying, no, that's the type of dumb dick move that the Knicks can do, or the Hornets can do. Some organization searching for relevancy or some type of star power. The Bulls don't want or need any part of this. Like, what the hell would you do with Russell Westbrook? I mean, let's have a real talk about Russ here. Dude is now 32 years old. He just turned 32. He's the king of the manufactured systemic triple-double. Like, he's got a beast type of alpha mentality, and I always respected that about him, like Iverson had it. But damn, that alpha mentality can also lead to you doing a lot of bad, dumb things on the basketball court. But more so when you think about the manufactured systemic triple-double, people are going to point to, well, you have 3 straight seasons where you average a triple-double. Well, when the team, by design, wants you to get all of those rebounds and get the ball in your hands all of the time, so that way you're facilitating all of the offense, naturally your rebound and the assist numbers are going to be much higher than they naturally would be in the regular flow of a game. That's not Russell Westbrook's fault. That's just the reality of the situation. Doesn't make him a bad guy. It's just, I understand the approach there by Billy Donovan. But we got to be realistic here. And maybe in part that's why some people are thinking maybe that they want Russell Westbrook to come to the Bulls because he played under Billy Donovan. Well, how did that ultimately work out? Like, they couldn't make it to the NBA Finals under Donovan when he still had Durant and Westbrook. Remember that was Scott Brooks that they made it with. They couldn't make it there with Billy Donovan. Like, what the hell do you want? How do you think this is going to go? In a league that is more and more about outside shooting, and in particular three-point shooting, Russ can't shoot an effing lick. Last season was the second season in his career that he was 50% or more from two-point range. Only the second season of his career. And he only played in 57 games. So it was a shortened season, so that certainly skewed the numbers up a little bit. But it was also his second lowest three-point shooting percentage of his career. The dude can't shoot. So you want a ball-hogging point guard who can't shoot. And you think this is the guy that turns everything around in Chicago? You think this is the guy that's going to make the Bulls a championship contender? You're a clown. And not to mention the fact that Russ has been in the league over a decade now. He's 32. His kind of balls to the walls, maximum effort type of playing style, similar to Allen Iverson and others, is going to catch up to him and catch up to him very quickly. So do you want to be on the hook for paying Russell Westbrook $41.3 million this upcoming season, $44.2 million the following season, and then on the player option, which he would be an absolute fool if he did not pick up? You're talking about in that 2022-2023 season, a 34-year-old Russell Westbrook making $47 million. And you don't even know what the cap figures are going to be for the next couple of seasons. You could be talking about Russell Westbrook eating up half or more than half of your total freaking salary cap, or even if it's close to that, that's ridiculous. He is not that type of player for you. And more as the days go by, he's going to be less and less of that type of player. And if you sit there and say, well, you look at what they probably have to get up to him for two teams that are over the salary cap, like how you would make the salaries kind of line up to make it work. Like you could dump Otto Porter and give him Wendell Carter Jr. and you give him Satoransky, and that closely matches up. Well, do you have to give up a future first-round pick in order to get Russell Westbrook? Why the hell are you wanting to do that? And you're certainly not going to get much in the way of future first-round picks for the Rockets because they have several of them the next few years that are tied up. They could potentially be swapped or what have you. Like, no. And even if you sit there and say, okay, I'll humor you for a second. They don't have to give up a first-round pick this year or next year. And they get rid of Otto Porter's dumb dick contract. They have to lose Wendell Carter, which kind of sucks. But then they get rid of Satoransky, valuable type of role player type of guy. Salary's not that prohibitive. Now you get Russell Westbrook. Okay, so now your lineup is going to be Russell Westbrook, LaVine, maybe Avdia, who you're playing at the 3, Markkanen, and then who you got at the 5. And you say, okay, Kobe White is your 6th man. Okay, now the kid that you took freaking 7th overall just a year ago, now he's playing on the bench as a 6th man. Oops, that was a mistake. Like now you're going to go to a 3-guard lineup and you're going to say Russ, LaVine, and White. Like who's playing defense in that backcourt? Who the hell is going to shoot? LaVine is at least a solid shooter. I give him that. Like he's a modern NBA wing in the sense that he can shoot from the outside. He's not a tremendous three-point shooter, but he's competent. He's adequate. Kobe White at this stage of his career certainly isn't. And Russell Westbrook sure as hell is not that at all. He is well below league average, especially when you look at point guards. Like, what are you making a deal like this for? Who's going to look at Russell Westbrook being in Chicago and say, you know what, as a free agent, I want to come there, or as a disgruntled star somewhere else, by God, I want to orchestrate a trade and I want to go to Chicago. You still lack the quality of depth or role pieces to truly contend. Russell Westbrook is not a number 1 guy that you're going to win a championship with as your number 1 guy. You're not even going to win one with him as your number 2 guy. The reason I say that, look at his fucking career. He never has. It's all the evidence you need. So, imagine sitting there and thinking that Russell Westbrook is going to move the needle. No, all you'll be doing is committing a ton of your salary cap to the next couple of years for one guy who's not going to make people around him much better. So that way you can sit there and maybe slide in somewhere between the 6th and the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. Who the hell wants to do that? That's just the perpetuation of a cycle of mediocrity and irrelevance that we've had plenty of in Chicago, and we don't need more of. I hate to say it, Bulls fans, but Now is not the time to be striking and be tying yourself to the wrong guys for the wrong number of years for way too damn much money that aren't going to make the right type of impact. Maybe in another year or two, you get one of your young guys steps up and shows they can really be something. Maybe the guy that you take fourth overall, whether it's Avdi or Hayes or somebody, like they show that they could be a real star player. Then maybe all of a sudden you go into the next NBA offseason and you could become players. You might have some goddamn cap space. You might have a couple of young pieces that are appealing either in trade or in free agency for players to say, hey, I want to come here and make a difference and play with this guy. And I'm okay with playing in Michael Shadow because I think this Bulls team could win another damn ring. Russ ain't going to do that. All Russ is going to do is further hamstring your ability to do that in another season or two when the timing is actually right. So I understand the frustration for Bulls fans. I'm right there with you. But don't let frustration create desperation, which makes you do dumb dick things. Trading for Russell Westbrook would be a dumb dick move by the Chicago Bulls. Period. Stay away from them. Stay very, very far away.